Your reflections on the conversations today as it relates to sustainability within the sector?
Well, I was thrilled with the Prime Minister's comments this morning, and I think he set a really good tone, and certainly Adam Stewart's remarks as well. But what I find really refreshing with the Prime Minister's comments is he was very candid with us, and his acknowledgement of the incredible value of tourism, but also his caution that we've got to make sure we manage it and develop it properly and in a more effective way. So those were great remarks. I mean, often in years past, we didn't hear that kind of support and leadership and recognition of the value of the industry. So I thought that was great insights on his part and encouraging. The other thing that I liked about the early tone that was set by both the Prime Minister and the Minister, as well as Adam, was this call for greater collaboration and working together. And that's part of the theme, one of the themes here, partnership, one of the themes. We know through CHTA and CAST and through the network of National Hotel and Tourism Associations, that when we get things done effectively, and it's not always easy, but when we do it effectively, it's because we've done it collaboratively. And just hearing some of that messaging coming out was very important. We have, I think, an exceptional example with CHTA, CTO, and the Caribbean Public Health Agency, CARFA, where we established a memorandum of agreement almost 10 years ago to work on a number of tourism health-related matters. Started with chikungunya and Zika and things like that. And that collaboration really was foundational to our ability to respond and be effective agents for rapid recovery as a result of the pandemic. And the economic consequences of that to government treasuries, to employment, to the profitability and viability of thousands of businesses is, I should say, immeasurable, but it could be very well measured into billions of dollars. And that was because of a partnership, a strong partnership, and the readiness that we put in place, the work that we did through CARICOM, working with governments on advice and counsel, on being able to open in time for the pandemic. That underscores the value of partnership. It wasn't always easy, and it hasn't always been easy, but the end results were there. And it was foundational on some core principles that we agreed to in 2014 when we signed that memorandum of understanding. And that memorandum of understanding, that was our compass. Basically said, we want to focus on these things, we want to collaborate, and so on. So every now and then when we got off track a little bit because we might have disagreed with something, we came back to our compass and it guided us. And it bode us all incredibly well throughout the pandemic. I think it's an untold story for the Caribbean and the world. Fastest recovering area for tourism in the world.
Absolutely. Getting back to your earlier comments about the Prime Minister as well as the Executive Chairman from Sandals Resort, just talking about Sandals a bit, your thoughts on sort of the pioneering role that Sandals has played in tourism throughout the years and the kind of contribution it's made to sustainable tourism. Do you think that story is well told?
I think it's known. More could be known. I mean, when Mr. Stewart said today, foundation that they put in place, what was it? It was an astounding amount of money that's gone into scholarships and so on. That's not widely known. And I think we need to toot the horn more. And basically, the other thing that I think is really important in tooting that horn is we've got to let other players know that they've got to step up in the game as well. I mean, Sandals and several other of the brands, the international brands and so on that are in the region, Sandals has done a bang-up job, and several of the other brands are. But we have players that haven't really stepped up to the plate, I mean, quite candidly, and need to. It's an investment. It's their investment in their own viability and profitability. So we need to see more of that. I think Sandals can serve as an example to a lot of other businesses, and we should tout more of what they do to the industry. CHTA does, we do some of that, but we need to all do more of that.
Tell us about the work of the Caribbean Alliance for Sustainable Tourism, and what are some of the plans for the future to elevate these kinds of issues to the fore?
Sure. Well, CAS, the Caribbean Alliance for Sustainable Tourism, was envisioned in 1990s by two primary hoteliers who were then on the leadership executive committee for the Caribbean Hotel Association. Mr. Frank Comito from Punta Cana in Dominican Republic, and Sir Royston Hopkin. They got together and they said, listen, we're concerned about the environment, we're concerned about the future, we need to do something about it. So they formed this alliance, the Caribbean Alliance for Sustainable Tourism, and CHTA backed and supported it for a number of years. We have done, again, a range of things through CAST. We've done energy efficiency audits for the entire industry, made the industry much more energy efficient with the findings, the research. We've done pilot projects around that. I was the beneficiary when I was in the Bahamas in those days to go through some what they called EMS training and environmental management systems training for hotels, and we've just broadened the awareness and understanding and made our industry a lot more efficient and effective. We have, since then, in recent times, we're becoming more involved. We're very concerned about what's going on with the coastal marine environment, coral reefs, mangroves, and so on, the degradation, the deterioration, waste runoffs into the sea, and plastics and all that. Those are the kinds of things that we're focusing on right now. We're doing a couple of neat collaborative projects with partners that we have. The Nature Conservancy is a major partner of CAST, and we're just finishing up a review of policies that enable, encourage, or discourage industry involvement in coral reef management and restoration and so on. We're doing some training around that. We finished the coral reef restoration and management guide for the industry about a year ago, and so a lot of focus on that right now with CAST. We're looking at plastics. We've done some webinars and other kinds of things around that over the years, but right now we're looking at a much broader engagement, possibly with the Caribbean Biodiversity Fund as well. We're pretty active. We've re-energized it. We've got new board leadership on it as well, and we're very optimistic about where we're going with it. We're very engaged and active with CAS right now.
Finally, the Caribbean has lost some stalwarts. Today is a sad day in tourism.
I think so.
With the passing of John Bell, and then prior to that, Warren Binder. Can you share your reflections on these two gentlemen and their contributions?
Well, both of them had a huge impact on my understanding of the industry and my admiration for the leadership that they brought to it, particularly John, because John was Caribbean-wide. Even though Warren was involved in Caribbean stuff, my real affiliation with Warren was in our years in the Bahamas, and he had a huge impact on the marketing aspect of things in the Bahamas. But John was a visionary, so we're talking about sustainable tourism. John envisioned that back in the 90s. John envisioned the importance of our engagement in education and training back in the 80s. John envisioned a collective effort by the region through marketing. That's how Caribbean Marketplace was established, through John, guys like George Myers, and Warren was involved in all of that, and so on. So we've lost, but we've gained. I don't think people. If I could name the top 5 most influential people in tourism, public or private sector, and its development in the Caribbean over the last 50, 60 years, John Bell is in there, unquestionably. Just a wonderful man. He had high standards. He had a short fuse if you weren't reaching those standards. My first affiliation with John was in 1986 in a meeting with the CHTA Executive Committee in Puerto Rico, and I came away just awestruck. I just said, wow, this guy is really something.